Hi, this is Roger Phelan, and this is my first impressions of the Z Cam E2c. And for the impatient ones, this thing is built like a tank. I haven't had a chance to test it properly yet, so if you want to know more about the image quality, you're going to have a little bit more patience. Hold on throughout this video maybe, and then for sure I'm going to make some more videos going more in depth with this little camera. And now for some more details. I have not yet gone through all the image quality and what can I get from this camera. So I will be recording this video at 4K 25p, which is what I usually use. I have the ISO at auto so that I don't have to touch it, and let's see how does it behave. The lens is a Laowa 17mm f1.8, fully manual, so we're going to be testing the autofocus, and I'm going to be changing the profiles as we go, which is what I'm most interested in, especially the difference between flat, Z-Log and HLG, because usually I shoot in HLG in Panasonic and Sony, so let's see how this works here. And so far we've been shooting in the flat profile. Now we're going to be talking a little bit about the construction, and we're going to do that in Z-Log 2. This thing is built like a tank, seriously, it's all metal. I don't think I've ever had any camera that gets any close to this when it comes to construction, at least the shelling. The strongest things that I can compare is actually these cameras behind me, the Nikon F4 and the FM3A, which feel super solid. But when it comes to consumer cameras, definitely nothing comes close to this. I know that this is not a consumer camera, but kind of it's in that price range, and it's a consumer cinema camera, if that makes sense. What I don't like from the construction are the buttons. They are really mushy, and it's a bit difficult to know whether you have clicked or not. So if you're browsing through the menus, of course you can't see that you have clicked, but I could imagine now I would have some troubles if I have to push the buttons which are on the side, the function buttons which are customizable and assignable. Then the LPE6 battery mount in the back seemed very, very solid. I had a little bit of trouble, or I had to use some force to slide the battery in, but again, these are also third-party non-Canon batteries, so that might be normal. But again, construction super, super solid. It's very, very small. It's a cube, and I'm gonna have to kit this out a little bit to have a bit more comfortable form factor for using this in normal situations. And my normal situations as a hobbyist is gonna be just sitting on the floor with my kids and getting pretty videos from them. So don't hate me for that. And now that we're in HLG, we're gonna talk a little bit about media and recording options. Right now, I'm recording in H.265, which is 10-bit 420, which is great, into an SD card internally. As much as I can, I would like to record internally in this thing, but if I want to record in ProRes, which this little tiny thing can do, then I need to record into an external SSD. And browsing the forums, or actually the Facebook group of Z Cam, there's plenty of people that say to any question related to SSDs, don't use them. Especially with the other cameras and the flagship ones, the recommendation is always CFast cards. Put the card inside. It's kind of unfortunate considering the price difference between SSDs and CFast especially, and since this gives the option. So I will be for sure trying the USB out from this E2c to record ProRes into a Samsung T5, and then some Samsung Evo that I have in some cases that have the USB-C cable as well. My use case will be mostly this kind of talking head, the camera sitting on the table. I'm not worried at all about the cable pulling or anything, since I'm just going to have the hard ref on here, but we're going to be reporting back about those different kind of options. When it comes to resolution, this shoots in 4K, Cinema 4K as well, or DCI. Then it's also shoots in a quirky square format, which is 2880 by 2880, and then of course it also shoots full HD. It caps up at 30 frames per second in 4K, and it goes up to 60 frames per second in full HD. Almost everything I do, almost absolutely everything, is 25p. So I know what I'm getting, and I don't have usually the need of having high frame rates at high resolution. So for my use case, this will be more than enough. And now we moved on to Rec 709, which is one of the profiles that many people recommend shooting with this Z Cam if you want a really fast turnaround and fast workflow, because apparently the colors and everything is great as it is out of camera, which would be really, really good, to be honest, with some fast turnaround videos that sometimes they want to shoot. Now that we're in Rec 709, what do you guys think? I'm gonna go more in detail into the different profiles in a separate video and how easy they are to create and whatnot. And now I just wanted to mention maybe the menus. The buttons are mushy, but the menus are fairly easy to navigate. And surprisingly, I would say that really tiny screen is more than good enough to navigate through the menus. I would say that the buttons are more an issue than the screen. So the screen initially divides in a 9 grid, and then you can go deeper in each one of the menus. So that was pretty easy, and I got everything set up. I didn't have troubles finding anything that I wanted in the first 15-20 minutes of using the camera without reading the manual or going to the book from Peter that he has the links into the Facebook group. So I would say that's pretty good. And let's finish this video in the flat profile once again. And I'm going to be talking briefly about what's coming next in matter of video content related to this camera. One thing is that I'm going to be kitting it out a little bit, at least. Right now I have a Atomos Ninja V attached to it. The Atomos is just sitting on the table, so I'm going to find a way to rig it up on the camera for when I'm moving around. Also, what kind of handle will I put to it, potentially a cage, and the tripod mount options. So let's see how that goes. That would be probably content for one video. Another one is going to be going in depth, or at least as much in depth as the hobbyist that will use this camera for my silly YouTube channel will, through the different picture profiles, and then how easy or difficult they are to create for an amateur that hardly knows what he or is doing. We're gonna take a look at that. I might try to make a video as short as I can, going through the menus and to see how easy it is to find things in there. Let's see if I bundle it with the rigging it out or with the picture profiles. And I suppose that we're gonna have some comparisons with some other cameras that I own, but this shall be fun. And when it comes to content, usually I've done videos which are more prepared and I have tested things and then shared what I've learned with you people. But now is the first time that I'm doing a first impressions of a camera. I'm doing this testing different profiles, so I'm mixing the first impressions with the tests themselves, and I'm gonna be sharing with you probably the images ungraded and then with some quick grading. So I'm interested to hear what do you guys think, and if somebody has questions about the camera that I could try to answer, please let me know down below. And one very cute, interesting thing of that little tiny screen on top is the focus picking actually shows up in there. I didn't see that coming. I'm not gonna suggest that you use that screen for anything else than really super basic framing, but it was a nice surprise. I did turn on the scopes on the hope that maybe they would show up there, but maybe that was a little bit helpful. If you like the video, please like and subscribe, and we're gonna see you soon for some more content.